Hi, and welcome to CityBiz CEO Profiles. I'm Brian Hart. I am the founder and president of Flackable, a national public relations and credibility marketing agency located in Philadelphia. And I'm thrilled to be joined today by a communications powerhouse. Greg Matusky is the CEO and founder of Gregory FCA, located in Greater Philadelphia with offices in New York. Greg, you've been growing faster than I can keep track. So if I'm missing any other offices, you'll have a chance to fill us in on where you're at there. But we plan today to talk a little bit about the background of Gregory FCA. We're going to get into the comms fields adaptation of artificial intelligence, and then some related challenges and opportunities that are sparking up within communications with the fast advancement of this technology. So, Greg, um, I know quite a bit about Gregory FCA. I started my career in financial communications at Gregory FCA ages ago as an intern and have had the privilege of watching you guys just continue to really drive positive change in our industry um, with your growth and with the innovation that you guys spark. So, for those who aren't as familiar with Gregory FCA, can you take us back and talk a little bit about background and what it is you focus on?
Sure, I'll start from the beginning. I was a magazine article writer, a freelance out of Philadelphia for many years. I was a contributing editor for Success magazine. This was a long time ago, Brian, probably before you were born. In fact, I'm almost sure it's before you were born. And then in 1990, I flipped over and came to the dark side because I loved to write, but I didn't necessarily like being locked in my basement all alone with my thoughts. And I put together a communications PR firm, Gregory FCA, which grew through the 90s and had great success with technology companies and then with financial services companies. I was joined by a young man out of Villanova named Joe Anthony, who's now an equity partner in the firm, and he's my partner. And we continue to grow with both technology as one driver of our growth and financial services as another. And lo and behold, in 2019, we sold a minority interest to a family office in Boston called Copley Equity Partners, which really unlocked a lot of growth for us. We're up about 27% year over year, and now one of the 40th largest PR firms in the country. And most recently, I just became enthralled with artificial intelligence, AI. I really take it from a writer's perspective and how it mimics the mind of a human being. And it all started a couple years ago when I tried to digitize the writing process and had built all kinds of questions around different types of content that needed to be, the questions needed to be answered to write the content. Little did I know I was actually building prompts. And then when OpenAI changed the world in December of 2022, I realized all the pieces were together. We've built our own internal AI platform called GladWrite, and we released that to the public. A small sliver of it called Write Release, which is an amazing product. It helps people write better news releases, and it is structured and opinionated, meaning in the world of AI, that means it prompts you. There's 70 different kinds of releases, all with questions.
So, Greg, thanks for giving some background on where you are now. Now, I know you work with a lot of different industry verticals, and then you have a lot of verticals within your own firm. So, can you talk to me on the client end? What are some of the common pain points that you're seeing with these clients in different industries? What is the common denominator that you find you're solving for them? And then you can branch out and have a little more detailed conversation about how you view verticals within your firm.
Well, in PR, we've accepted all these pain points and friction points for eons. We just think that's the way it's done. A lot of it's our own arrogance that we think we're more artists than we are technicians, but I don't necessarily believe that. So certainly, content is always a friction point because you need to communicate in the brand and the tone and the voice of the client. And you need to understand how to do that. It doesn't matter if it's a media pitch, a blog post, or if it's a PowerPoint presentation or a sales presentation. You have to be able to capture the voice of the customer, the client. And that's a real pain point because most people in this world really struggle. Writing is that which is just beyond most people. So that's always been a pain point and always will be a pain point. That's one. The other one is the expected failure rate is a real pain point, right? You'll have an interview and you need to get a client on the phone within the hour, and they don't respond fast enough. You miss the opportunity with a major media, and you say, "Oh well, we still did our job." Well, we haven't done our job, right? At the end of the month, the end of the quarter, you're not going to be able to justify that. That's a major pain point in what we do. So, the other pain points is just staying on top of the media. It changes so quickly and so fast. Fortunately, there's a number of suppliers like Muckrack, Incision, and Meltwater, which do a pretty good job. But we haven't really adopted and adapted to technology and PR like on other industries. Very few PR agencies, for instance, would use a CRM because it's not really how we work. These companies sell that, but we basically think a media database or electronic or AI generated sentiment scoring or media monitoring is the height of technology, when really it's far from that.
Mhm. And then what are some of the big solutions that you're bringing to your clients? Because agencies obviously are navigating a rapidly evolving media landscape. But these companies, these brands that we represent, it's very difficult for them to navigate that on their own. So what is the big value proposition you're bringing to them?
Well, obviously, our knowledge of the media is a big value prop. I come from the media. 19% of our staff here, our workforce, was with the media. So understanding how the media works from the inside, right? This is what always kind of sets me off about our industry. For instance, our tech providers, they don't really echo the way we work. They don't really understand. For instance, they want us to pay for their services on a quarterly basis or an annual basis, not realizing we're on retainers. Why wouldn't they work like we work? That's just one small example of how they don't understand what we're about. Another instance, there's all kinds of AI generated pitch writing engines right now, and they all stink. They're horrible. And the reason they're horrible is they're just skinned versions of OpenAI. And OpenAI has never been trained on the communications that takes place between marketers and PR people and the media. Those are private conversations. So when you read what OpenAI or generative AI does as far as a media pitch, it is vapid and absent of all kinds of meaning. So we have to learn how to use these artificial intelligence products to find unique angles, and then we still have to write and create our own media pitch. We can use these tools to find trending stories, where the velocity of a narrative is going, but we need to really do the final fine tuning at the end ourselves as human beings and relate to that reporter.
And so clearly there is a need and a hunger in the marketplace for sophisticated communication services. You saw that need, and you mentioned earlier you jumped on that need with a big deal you did with Copley Equity Partners. I know a lot of that was driven towards growth, but can you walk us through that? How that deal has positioned you to capitalize on the need in the marketplace?
Sure. Well, capital's king. You can do a lot more when you have capital. You can finance marketing, biz dev. You can finance outbound campaigns. You can do things that you just can't do when you don't have capital behind you. Like, you can't afford to send two principals out to two speaking engagements on the same week. So it's unlocked a lot of that and provided us a springboard to do a lot more marketing and engagement. And it's really come home to roost. I mean, we eat our own dog food. We do those things we want our clients to do. We participate in awards. We're embedded in conferences and become the chosen agency of different kinds of conferences and verticals. We write and publish our own content a lot, and we do our own media relations. That's hard to do for many firms as they try to get over the hump. There's thousands of PR firms out there. Most of them have never got over $1 million or $2 million of revenue a year. They've never had the professional gloss. And that's really what a good money capital source will do for you. They'll give you the capital, but you also work hand in glove with some very intelligent people. Our family office that invested in us, they come from MIT and Harvard and Dartmouth. And I'm not saying that's the end all, but I'm saying when you work with somebody who can do in like seconds a spreadsheet to determine the viability of going into a new market vertical, that's a big step up. That's a big advantage. So that's what we've gained from it.
Yep. And beyond business growth and just the human capital that it's allowed you to pursue, you've mentioned a few times now that you have invested aggressively in technology. And I know you're not just the one who saw some headlines about AI in the beginning of the year and jumped on the bandwagon. I mean, you have been planning and investing for this moment for a long time. You recently announced Right Release. Can you expand on that and how you're positioned right now with generative AI?
It all goes back to a few years ago when I was challenged to try to digitize the writing process. We originally did it analog. We created databases of every kind of document we would create and all the content that went with that. So you could go into the database and say, show me a news release about a capital raise for the acquisition of an asset management. And it would come up or populate to the paragraph that was appropriate. But it was awkward, right? And we thought maybe we would have to go into large language model development, which is crazy, right? And we went to our capital partners. They said, that's not where you play. And then when OpenAI opened up their hood and they allowed the world to accept ChatGPT, it was an epiphany. I said, oh my gosh, we already have the work done. We have the structured prompts that we can put in place, the opinionated prompts, and we can help people who are junior level talents write great content with that. And those that are senior writers may never use the structure because their brains work differently and they know how to do that. But for junior level people, it put them right through the steps. So we did that for every kind of content our firm creates. And we used OpenAI as the engine for that. And our most talented writers were those that accepted generative AI the most quickly, because they realized that being a writer takes years, 10,000 hours to create a neural pathway in your brain that can effectively allow you to use words while you get to a destination, while you create the message, right? That's really difficult. But with OpenAI, what it does in generative AI and Claude and Bard is that it allows you to focus on the intelligence of the message and then takes care of the data itself, right? It takes care of the words. I will never have to teach anybody again AP style. That's done. And I think because of that, as PR and communicators, if we really learn to master these tools, we'll be able to create more content, more meaningful content, more quality content. The trick is, right, how quickly can we do that? And I got to tell you, I'm embedded in a lot of PR groups, and there's still a lot of resistance. There is still a lot of resistance. They always want to say, but you can't really get quality content from it. And I call bullshit on that. I mean, if I was to share with the world some of the great work we've done with generative AI, which is in the 96th percentile, I think they would be shocked. If you really know how to build a prompt and really know how to go back in and tweak it within the generative AI model, what it does. And I'm a firm believer that all the intent of all communications is to spur and improve human understanding. And if we can achieve a higher level of understanding, we can do good for the world. So certainly there's risks involved, but allowing people to understand each other better has at its heart a good intention for the world.
And with your own proprietary development, I understand you went to somebody very close to you to collaborate and build up some of the proprietary tech that you're using today broadly.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm very fortunate. I have a son who has an engineering degree and an MBA from Carnegie Mellon and has been my developer, my secret sauce, and that he takes what we have done at Gregory FCA. He was embedded actually in a PR team to really learn what we do. And then he started his own venture called Newsprint. He raised his own capital, and he's creating AI PR tools to allow for a more efficient and frictionless frictionless workflow for PR people. So he has the advantage. He grew up in the business. He's got a developer's and scientific mind, and he creates these tools for us. He created Write Release. He created GladWrite. He's creating now a whole series of tools which he's going to launch for the PR industry, which will go much further than content. I mean, he's not going to compete against OpenAI or Claude or Bard, but he can compete knowing how do we really work and how can we increase the efficiency, which will have the effect of allowing us to keep our retainers while we still give better value.
Well, I want to say, as a comps professional myself, I admire the innovation that your company has brought to AI, and I can't wait to follow as you continue to grow and expand how you're using this and how you're using it the right way, which I think needs to be talked about within our profession. So, thank you for that. And
Well, there's one point I got to make, Brian. And the high water mark of my career was having Brian Hart as an intern here at Gregory FCA. I launched a great competitor, a very fierce, knowledgeable, and charismatic competitor. And I'm glad we've kept this relationship over the years.
and that's actually a great segue to where I wanted to go next. Talent management. I mean, you have had so many great PR professionals come through Gregory FCA. Many of them have grown their whole careers there and are there today. Many give you many, many good years and then go off and do other wonderful things. Talk to me about how you're looking at talent management and talent development in the age of AI and how that's changing the profession.
Well, Brian, I'm 62, and I consider this my final act here, right? The act 4 of technology. It started with desktop publishing and laptops. It then went to the internet. It then went to smartphones, and now it's AI. It's the fourth wave, which has the potential of being at least as big, if not bigger, than the internet, I believe. And I want to give everyone that touches Gregory FCA the gift of artificial intelligence, of AI, and learn how to use it. And as I tell everyone here, I wish you could stay with us forever. I'm a pragmatist, but I want you to have a higher value career one way or the other. And you need to learn these tools. You need to remember every day to be using them, to be learning how to master them. And that's how I'm going to safeguard your career in a world of chaos, right? This is going to wreak havoc on the industry. I think overall employment numbers in communications could very well go down, right? But people who know really how this works and stays current will always have a very viable career. That's my commitment. I sit down with people every day and I say, no matter where you go or what you do, you need to learn how to use these tools, just like we learned how to use personal computers, just like we learned how to use the internet, just like we learned how to do social media, right? These are going to define communications in the future, and you're going to gain so much value. I always tell them, you're going to be able to look back and say, I was at the revolution. I sat at the table. Like I say about the first time I saw an e-commerce site, like I saw it. I was there. I was a part of it. That's what this is. Young people need to embrace it. They need to couple it with best practices, and they need to lead the older, more seasoned veterans in this, because that's the way it always is. This is a little flip-flopped, and then I became excited about it. And I serve as the ambassador and the evangelist within my firm. But this is where it's going, folks. This is where we need to gain mastery.
Yeah. And that's terrific advice to both people who are well into the industry and adopting to this new playing field, and those who want to break into the industry as well. So I completely support that. And again, we're seeing it play out with the way that you guys manage your team. So on the other side of that, you have built, such a long, accomplished career in communications. When you were starting out, what was the most impactful piece of advice you received that helped you build your way up to where you are today?
One of the most important pieces of advice was when times are tough, you get better. When times are good, all you do is write business. So take those opportunities when times are tough to really define and refine and show more value. Right now, It's a tough economy in professional services, no doubt about it. So in 2008, when the financial crisis happened in real estate and banks were going out of business, we really plowed full force into content, right? That was really the pivotal point for us that gave better value to our clients. And now it's kind of echoing itself, right? We see some tough times. Now let's increase the value by using these AI tools to really help our clients do more marketing than they ever expected and to surprise and delight them. So if we're doing a weekly market update, take that, create that quickly, create a LinkedIn post, 5 tweets, use that for the basis of a PowerPoint presentation, send that to them as a package, and excite and wow them instead of here's a first draft. What do you think?
Fantastic advice. Greg Matusky, Gregory FCA, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Brian. And we share a lot in common, not the least of which is the Eagles, the Sixers, and the Phillies. So
Yep. Hey, we've got a championship coming. I'm feeling it. To everybody who tuned in, thank you so much for listening to this episode of our CEO Profile series. Signing off for CityBiz, I'm Brian Hart. Thanks so much.